Welcome to Chapter 2 for Algebra 1. So today we're going to be talking about all different types of operations with real numbers. So what I mean by real numbers are just regular whole numbers, so your counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. Also integers, so those are whole numbers that could be positive or negative. And then fractions as well, and decimals. So we're just going to be reviewing operations with all different types of numbers. For most of you, this is going to be a pretty simple lesson, just reviewing some rules. So the first part of this, and we're combining all of section 2.1 to 2.3, as well as 2.5. So this is going to be a little bit of a long one, but it's your notes for quite a few sections. So we're going to start off with integers, which means positive or negative numbers, whole numbers. So just a couple of reminders. If the integers have the same sign, so case one would be if they have the same sign. You just add. So a couple examples, 5 plus 7 is going to be 12. And then let's say we had like -4 plus -2. We add those together and keep it negative. So -6. Now if they're opposite signs, it gets a little weird. So if they're opposite signs, you want to subtract. So an example of that, let's just use these same numbers. Let's say we had 5 plus -7. So in order to solve that, I'm really doing 5 minus 7, which is -2. And then let's say we had -4 plus 2. So that's really the same thing as 2 minus 4. So you can always flip the order on that. And that would be -2 as well. Subtracting integers. So you need to change the subtraction to addition. Okay, so a couple examples of that. So let's say that we had 5 minus 7. So I could go with 5 plus -7. So you can change it to addition, and then you have to change the sign of that second number. So because it was a +7, I made it a -7. And that would be -2. And then let's say that I had -4 minus 2. So again, I'm going to keep the first one the same. I'm going to change to addition. And then I'm going to flip the sign of the second number. So because it's a -2, it's now a +2. So this would be -2 as well. Okay, multiplying integers, this is a little bit simpler. So I'm just going to give you a summary of the rules. And I think this will be a nice handy little summary to have. So if I have a positive times a positive, that's a positive. If I have a negative times a negative, that's a positive. So same sign equals positive. Okay, if I have a positive number times a negative number, that's negative. And same thing if I have a negative times a positive, that's negative. So opposite signs give you a negative product. Okay, division, same thing. So if I have a positive divided by a positive, that's positive. If I have a negative divided by a negative, that's negative. So same sign equals positive. And then if I have a positive divided by a negative, that's negative. Oops, I'm sorry, this is positive. I messed up there. Yeah, same sign, they're positive. If I have a negative divided by a positive, that's also negative. So opposite sign equals negative. Okay? Awesome. So a little bit of practice. So we're still going to follow order of operations. We're still working with PEMDAS from the previous chapter. So we're going to do some of these together, not all of them. I don't want this presentation to end up being an hour long. So I'm just going to pick a handful of these to do with you. And then you can try some on your own if you would like. If not, that's okay. You're going to have plenty of practice with assignments we're going to do anyway in class. Okay? So I will start with number 5. All right, so by order of operations, we have no parentheses other than the parentheses with the negatives, so that doesn't count. We have no exponents, we have no multiplication, we have no division. We do have addition and subtraction, so we want to work from left to right. So we're going to be starting with 24 plus negative 19, so that's 5. And then we've got a minus 30. So we want to change that to addition. So it's going to be plus 30 minus 30. We just keep working from left to right. So that's 35 minus 30, which is 5. Okay, let's also do number 6. So we do have parentheses, so we're going to start with that. So negative 19 plus 20 is positive 1 times 29. Okay, no exponents. We do have multiplication. So we're going to have negative 19 plus 29. And then if we add those together, that's going to be 10. So there's our answer there. All right, so continuing on to the other side, I'll pick a few of these to do with you. Let's do 10 for sure. So that's probably the hardest one on here. And let's go and do 7. All right, so we'll start with 7. So 76 minus, and we've got negative 12 minus negative 28 over 16 minus 19. So I'm going to want to start out getting rid of those parentheses. So I'm going to say 76 minus, I'm going to figure out what that is. So negative 12 minus negative 28. So that's going to become plus. So negative 12 plus 28, which would be 16 over 16 minus 19. So then I just need to simplify. So on top I'd get 60, on bottom I'd get negative 3, and then if I divide, I'm going to get negative 20. So there's that one. This one here, start with parentheses. There's nothing in parentheses other than the 3, but that doesn't count. That's just for multiplication. There's not an operation going on in the parentheses. We do have an exponent, so let's start with that. So we've got 30 minus 13 plus 7 plus 2 cubed is 8 plus 18 minus, we'll go ahead and do that multiplication since that would come next. 6 times 3 is 18. So then we're going to work from left to right. So 30 minus 13 is 17. So we've got 17 plus 7 plus 8 plus 18 minus 18. So 17 plus 7 is 24, plus 8 plus 18 minus 18. 24 plus 8 is 32, plus 18 minus 18. And then we'll just keep going. So 32 plus 18, that's going to be 50 minus 18. So we simplify that is 32. So you could have done that in a lot less steps. I'm just trying to show all the steps, but it's okay if you did less steps than that. All right, and then if you want to try any of those on your own, go for it. Next, we're going to look at decimals. So we're just going to do a little review on decimals. Okay, so just some reminders. When you are adding decimals, you want to line up the decimals. Fill in any empty decimal places with a 0. And that's the same for subtracting as well. And then once you've done that, you would just add or subtract. Okay, so multiplying, you're going to multiply as if it was a whole number. Then you're going to find the sum of the decimal places in the factors. And then lastly, you're going to place the decimal in the product, so in the answer, with same number of places. Okay, division. So when you're dividing, you need to make the divisor into a whole number by moving the decimal. Sorry, that's an I. So you move decimal to the right. Okay, then you're going to move the decimal and the dividend the same number of places. Then from there, you're just going to divide as you normally would. And then once you have your answer, you're going to float the decimal into the quotient. And we'll give you an example of that. Okay, so quick note, I know that you can just use a calculator to do these, but it is important that you can do them by hand as well. This is the only chapter that I'm going to ask you to try to do these by hand. So just like last time, I'm just going to pick a few of these to do. And then the rest you can try on your own or not, up to you for this chapter, because we're going to be doing plenty of practice. So let's start with division. So let's do number 4. So if I write this out, I've got 0.4 divided by negative 2.98. So my first step is to make the divisor into a whole number. So I need to move this 2 places, which means I need to do the same thing here. So that means this is really 40 going into 298. So then I need to think about how many times does 40 go into 298. So I know 40 times 5 is 200. 40 times 6 is 240. 40 times 7 is 280. So let's do 7. And then we'd have 18 left over. So this is 7 and 18 over 40. And if you were to convert that, and sorry, it's a negative. I forgot the negative here. If you use a calculator to convert that, that's negative 7.45. Okay, and then let's just pick another example that has a mix of multiplication, addition, subtraction. So like number 4 here is a good one to practice. So first they ask you to go ahead and multiply. So let's do that by hand just to review. So I'm just going to multiply like normal. So 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 6 is 6. Bring down a 0. 6 times 4 is 24. Carry a 2. 6 times 6 is 36. Plus 2 is 38. Bring down a 0. And then, of course, that last line would just be all zeros. So then I would add. And when I do so, I get 4, 0, 1, 9, and 3. So then the tricky part here is you got to figure out how to place the decimal. So it's over 2 places here and over 1 place here. So that means it needs to be over 3. So that's 3.904. And then I have to subtract 16.6. So we know the answer is going to be negative because 16 is much greater than 3. But to make this easier on myself, I'm going to flip it around. Subtract like this, so make sure you line up your decimals. So I need to fill in a 0 here, and then I know my answer is going to be negative. So this I would convert to 10, and I change this to a 5. So 10 minus 4 is 6, 5 minus 0 is 5. And then I feel like I did not line this up properly. I did not. Okay, scratch that. Let me redo this. Sorry, guys. I messed that up. 16.6 minus 3.904. So I need 2 zeros. There we go. Okay, so here's 0 minus 4. I can't do that. This is also a 0. So I'm going to make this 59 and borrow. Make this a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 0 is 9. 5 minus 9 I'm going to need to borrow. So that's going to become 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. And then 15 minus 3 is 12. So 12.696, and it is negative. So that's how you would do that one. And then addition is the same thing. You just need to line up the decimals and fill in the zeros. Okay, so that's decimals. We're going to move on to fractions. And again, I'm just going to do a few examples with you since this is mostly review and I don't want this to be an hour-long presentation. All right, so a couple of reminders. So when you're adding fractions, you need to rewrite each fraction with a common denominator. And that is also true for subtraction. So to save you some writing, we'll put that there. Then you're going to add the numerators. And then simplify. So like if you can reduce, you'll reduce. So, couple of reminders. The denominator is the bottom of the fraction. Numerator is the top. Okay, subtraction is the same exact thing, except for in this step here, you would subtract instead of add. But you would also simplify, so you do also need a common denominator. Multiplying. So to multiply, if you have a mixed number, you need to rewrite it. To rewrite mixed numbers as improper fractions. And then you multiply straight across. So quick reminder, a mixed number is something like 2 1/2. You need to rewrite that as 5/2. That's an improper fraction. So remember how to do that. You take your whole number times your denominator. So 2 times 2 plus your numerator is 5. And you put it over your denominator. Division, you still also need to rewrite mixed numbers as improper fractions. And then you're going to change the division to multiplication and flip the second fraction. And then you will multiply. So let's do an example of each operation. So let's do, we'll just start here with number 1. So 12 plus 1 9/10. Negative 12 plus 1 9/10. Let's start with that. So I can just add those whole numbers together. So negative 12 plus 1 9/10. So what I would probably do to make this a little easier on myself is I tried to get a common denominator. So I'm going to look at this 1 9/10. Sorry, my computer just flipped. There we go. So 1 times 10 is 10 plus 9 is 19. Let me zoom in for you. So I know that is 19 over 10. And then I would also want to try to rewrite 12 in terms of 19ths. So just real quickly, I'm going to work out 12 times 19. So that'd be 318. Okay, so 318, negative 318 over 19. Sorry, over 10. I'm so sorry. I'm confusing all my numbers here. So we want the same denominator plus 19 over 10. So if I simplify that, that's going to be negative 299 over 10. And then we have minus negative 5/3. So that becomes plus 5/3. Okay, so again, we're going to have to work to get a common denominator. So I got to think about 10 and 3. So 30 would be a good choice there to go for. So that means I'm going to need to multiply. So I know that if I multiply negative 300 by 3, that's negative 900. So I need 3 less than that because I have 299. So that's going to be negative 897 over 30 plus, we're multiplying by 10 here, and sorry, I should have shown that. So that's plus 50 over 30. Okay, so then we're starting at negative 897 and we're moving 50 closer to 0. So that means I'm going to be at negative 847 over 30. And that's my improper fraction, so I could just leave it like that, or I could try to simplify. We'll go ahead and just leave it like that for this problem. So we got the idea of the addition and subtraction. We can work on reducing later. Okay, let's try number 4. Would be a good one to try. So on number 4, we're going to need to go ahead and simplify. So negative 2 times 11 is negative 22, plus 3 is negative 25. So that's negative 25 over 11 times 5 times 9 is 45, plus 7 is 52. So then you'd have to go ahead and simplify this. So you multiply the top together. So real quickly, good review of multiplication by hand. Let's multiply this out. So 5 times 2 is 10, which is a 0, carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Bring down a 0. 5 times 5 is 25, carry a 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So 0, 0, carry your 1, 3, 1. So negative 1,300, and then 11 times 9 is just 99. And good enough for now. You can just leave it like that. You could simplify it, but we're not going to focus on that today. Today we're just focusing on the operation. Okay, let's try one more. Let's do a division problem. So let's do 6. So I'm going to go ahead and get these into improper fractions. So 1 times 11 is 11, plus 8 is 19. So 19 over 11. I'm going to change to multiplication. Then I'm going to flip that second fraction. So negative 8 over 9. So now I'm going to have to go through and multiply. So let's do 19 times 8 real quick. 72, carry the 7. So it's going to be 15. Negative 152 over 99. And again, good enough for now. Don't worry about simplifying. That's something we will work on at a later time. Okay, so there's plenty of practice problems there if you want to try practicing some on your own. I'm not going to make it a requirement for this notes section, but it is there if you need it. So that's it for our review of the different operations. Now we'll just do lots and lots of practice. Good job. We'll see you next time.